So we're doing really well. As far as updates on things you guys would want to know about, we're doing good with our offensive line. We're gaining some depth. Caleb continues to work and improve. Obviously, Maturko's there. They're switching off head to head every day. We're using all 4 running backs. We plan on using all 4 running backs. Quarterbacks are coming along really well. Spencer continues to progress. Shane's having good days. We like Tay Martin. We like what Brennan's doing. Braden Johnson will be practicing with us tomorrow. We kind of know what we get from him. And then all the young guys are just learning, trying to catch their breath. The Green twins and Bray. And then Cowboy backs. Austin is working. Quinn's working. Cassidy's working, getting some quality work. And then defensively, everybody is the guys that would be rotating in the 2 deep, and almost the majority of the young guys are all healthy. We've been very fortunate. Colin Clay's got a little bit of a meniscus or twist, whatever, in his knee. He might be out a week or so. Trace Ford has been working his way back into practice. I don't know who else it would be. Tyrese Williams had a little 2-day injury, but for the most part, we're doing really well. We've been fortunate. So we just need to keep pressing on and stay the course. I've had 2 serious discussions with them about the students back on campus now, and we know that the virus is present, it's around, it's everywhere. Last year, we felt like they did a really good job of reducing their social interaction, which is extremely difficult at their age. And I shared with them, I think they're going to have to do it again. The other students that are here this weekend, I doubt they're going to be concerned. Life is, I hope they are, but we all know how that is. I was driving home the other night, 2 or 3 nights ago, going the back way, going south where my house is, and I drove across 6th Street and I saw what I would call a block party. Students were welcoming themselves back, and that's what we need to try to avoid as our guys. But anyway, I think we're doing good. So that's where we're at now, moving forward, and attitudes are great.
How are things looking at the cornerback spot that you're
good? Christian and Jarek, those guys get a lot of work. Muhammad, Corey, they're in there, and then the young guys. So 24 and 0 are guys that are going to get probably 65% of the ones right now, and then those other guys are grabbing 30%, and then the young guys are working their way in. All those safeties are rotating through. Linebacker-wise, the guys that you think would be getting work are getting the work. Malcolm is working in there, and Devin's working in there, and then Jeff and let's see, one other one, 11. Those guys are all rotating in at linebacker.
With Christian, are you seeing the things you would expect to see from a guy of his age?
I just talked about him today in the meeting. He's had a really good camp, and his maturity is showing up out here. My personal opinion on him last year was that he wasn't really in good enough shape to compete at a high level because we didn't train him in the off season because of COVID. He's in much better condition at this time, in my opinion.
How many wide receivers do you think might play? In past years, we've had a maybe better idea with veteran guys how many could get on the field. How many can play this year?
4 guys will play a lot, the 4 that you would think, and then there will be 2 play 15 snaps a game, maybe 3, no yet. So 6 or 7, really 6.
Do you like that number? Or is it
Yeah, we need to be 2 deep. I mean, when we were our best around here is when during Mason's years, when we had legitimate 2 deep, we could put guys in, didn't make the difference what the down and distance is. That gives us a lot of flexibility. That second wave, though, Jenny, is young. So we're going to have to be patient with them as they develop. We don't have the luxury of the maturity, but we also understand that we have to do the best we can to reduce the wear and tear on their bodies as we get through October and close to November.
You had a lot of freshmen here in the spring that came in early. How many of those look like they will play a role this fall?
Well, you'd have to name them for me.
Well, we have running back Jaden Nixon.
He's doing good. He just happens to be at a position where we have a bunch of people. On a normal year, Robert, he would be rotating in, and I would say he'd probably show up could possibly show up in the first few games. But I really like where he's at, but we've got 4 guys that are going to play that position right now. So we have the luxury of developing his body, which he needs. He's a track guy. He needs 15 pounds, but he's in really good position at where he's at.
I'll make it easy for you. You got 3 young safeties that are all pretty talented: Lyric, Ty, and Kendall Daniels. You really don't need.
They're almost in the same boat. Now they're not going to be at they're 3s right now. When they work with all the young guys, they're not in that category that Jaden is, being behind so many running backs.
Right.
But they're all getting a lot of work out here. We're still repping the 3s the same number of reps we get our 1s. So those guys are getting quality work.
Colin Oliver?
Colin's going to play. How much, based on a lot of different things, the packages we use, but I feel like he's going to be in the game plan.
And Jenny asked about the receivers. You got the Greens.
The Greens and then Jaden, 85. JP has been out a few days. He's got a little tight hamstring. He'll probably be back this weekend. The twins could be in the game plan. Jaden could be in the game plan, and so will JP. Those guys will rotate through.
Do you think much about redshirting guys anymore?
Not really. It's funny you ask that because, Rashedi Jones is working back for us now in player development, and he's followed the program closely, but obviously he's not in college. He's been in high school and been doing player development. And he said just today, before we decide who we're going to redshirt, can I talk with them about keeping the morale up? And I said, we don't do that anymore, Rashedi. We hadn't done that in like 4 years. I mean, they can play 4 games. So we don't really have those conversations anymore. And so what happens is they kind of know who's going to redshirt. Who's going to not play more than 4 games. But it's not like, okay, all of a sudden you're going down here like it used to be.
Again, with all your depth, how is that impacting your cover units and your return units as far as?
If we're not really good in special teams, then I'll be disappointed because we've got experience at punter, experience at kicker, experience at deep snapper. The deep snapper might be good enough playing the NFL, Hembro.
Yeah.
And we've got a bunch of guys that weigh between 190 and 210 that can run and tackle. So I just feel like, we can say what we want, we should be good.
You mentioned that Spencer is progressing. Is the bar higher for him because of what you saw in the spring and what you guys are?
Yeah, at that position, the bar is always high for those guys. Spencer handles things great. 2 years that he's played here, he was in competition just to play. He's always done his job, done what we asked him, never said a word. Competes, and he's starting to get more confidence. He makes plays out here. But the defense makes plays against him too, which is good. So I just feel like he's in a good spot. Is he going to make a mistake? Sure he is. Sometimes will he fire one to the wrong team? Sure he will, just like Mason did. But I just feel like he's in a good spot mentally, and I think he'll play really well.
So, back off, Robert, can you talk about Aiden Kelly a little bit?
Who?
Aiden Kelly?
Oh, Aiden. Yeah, Aiden's doing good. He's one of those young guys. He's exactly what we thought he is. He's a year away from his body developing and maturing, and he's playing in a grown man's position. But attitude is unbelievable. Understands leverage and strength. Plays really hard. Loves life. Loves to be out here. And he just needs some time to grow.
You gonna go hog hunting with him?
What's that?
You gonna make any plans to go hog hunting with him?
Well, Gage is already. Gage is already working him. And I told Gage, I said, now he uses his hands. You've been using a rifle, so it's 2 different types of hog hunting. But Aiden is, he's a perfect fit here at Oklahoma State with just his temperament and the things he likes to do. And he and I talk about raising Bermuda hay and things like that. So,
Coach, I'm doing the story about Desmond Jackson. I was curious, how would you describe his style as a running back at this time?
he's a little bit of a slasher. You know, you don't want to go out on a limb too much, but for his performance in the games that he played in, he probably played as good as anybody in the country for the amount of reps he got in games, his production. And I'm somewhat hesitant and don't say this a lot, but he actually plays better in games than he practices. Now, he practices hard, but in games he slashes and seems to be more productive than he actually is in live settings in practice, which is kind of the important part of what we do. Now, there's very few young men that I've come across in my career that were actually able to do that. But there is a big role for him on our team with what he brings to the table. And when we put him in games last year and asked him to be successful, he was very successful.
When you were playing, were there guys on your team like that it seemed like they jumped out in the game, and now you're a coach? You said it doesn't happen a lot, but...
You know, he's not when I was playing, but he was a lot like Keith Toston. Toston might be a little bit more physical and Dez might be a little bit more agile, but they have the style, they both run standing straight up. And then they can make a cut and they're a little bit more little faster than what you think. A little bit like Keith Toston.
Mike, with a few weeks in the system now, how's ETN looks within the law?
He's doing good. He's still a couple weeks away. But you know, he's being force fed. But Turco's young too. Turco's just a baby. So both of them are young and inexperienced from that standpoint. But we're force feeding them and we're just rolling with it.
How comfortable are you with the guys that are on the right side of the line?
I'm pretty comfortable with what we're doing up front, with all of them.
One more for Coach, guys.
Well, go ahead. You never got in.
I was just going to ask at the running back position. I know years before, you had Truba Hubbard and talked about, limiting their carries, not each Marlon. How does that make it different with having so many options?
Well, there's a lot of talk about that, but the advantage that any coach has or coaches have in college football is competition and depth. So if you have a young man that's competitive and wants to play and he knows there's 2 or 3 other players at his position that are good players, he's going to compete every day. And if he's healthy because he's not getting beat up in games, he can practice hard every day, which makes our offense better. Right now we have that luxury. In years past, we've had, obviously Chuba's a great player, Justice Hill's a great player. We could go back through all of them. But they took a lot of hits on game day. So they were limited in practice. And that's not the best way because, you got to practice to play well, is the truth. So I'm excited about rotating these guys in. Now, I know it gets brought up. They say, well, what if somebody gets a hot hand? Well, yeah, if somebody gets a hot hand, they're going to roll until they get tired. We're not going to take somebody out that's just rolling. But we should be able to keep guys fresh and healthy. And then in the end, times have changed. With the way things are, players still want to know what their future is beyond this level. And when you have guys that don't have to take a lot of hits, it's good for their future. So it's a positive situation for us. So somebody had one real quick. Go ahead.
Well, just back to Christian, Jim Knowles talked about how last year, whether it's the physical part or the mental part, he wasn't quite there. How have you seen him grow over the offseason?
Well, that's what I mentioned earlier was we get young men that come in here and transfer in a portal or whatever, graduate transfer. And the first thing that they will tell you is from wherever they came from, we weren't used to working like this. And with COVID last year, we didn't get to push our guys and get them in really good shape. He's in good condition now. Tay Martin's in good condition now. That's a big difference in our opinion, in order to play in this league. And so that's why it's no different than anybody here. If we're not tired and we're doing something, we can do it pretty good. Then go get really tired and try to do the same thing. You can't think, and you're not as productive. Well, that's what Christian was doing last year in games, and that's what Tay was doing last year in games. Now they're in good condition. I feel good about where they're at, so they should start performing at a higher level. And the guys behind him should be able to give him a little bit of a break this year. So, anything else? Good? All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Mike.